Okay, welcome again to another session of the 17th Annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment Virtual Conference. I'm Bob Hales. I'm your moderator. We are fortunate to have with us Dr. Melissa Beck Wells. She is the Director of Teaching, Learning, and Faculty Development at SUNY Empire State University. Where is that located in New York?
So we are a distributed campus model. We're all throughout New York State. My particular office is in the New York City area, but in Staten Island.
Oh, okay. Uh, She has extensive experience in special education, instructional design, and universal design for learning, and is dedicated to advancing inclusive and innovative practices in higher education. That's what we want. So, Melissa, let me turn it over to you. All yours.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Bob, let me know you're going to see a little box over my screen when I go to shut my camera off while I'm presenting. So if you see that, don't be alarmed. As I said, I am situated in the New York City area, which means I do talk kind of fast. So if you need to put on those subtitles, please do feel free to do that through your Zoom. We want to make sure that you are included within this presentation and you feel like you're able to access it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut off my camera so that you're not distracted by my face and you can focus on my screen. So thanks so much for being here. And I want to thank the conference and Bob specifically so much for this wonderful event and this multiple day event and the asynchronous aspects of it afterwards. So do feel free to go back to presentations that you wanted to flag and look forward to them. So I'm going to go ahead, shut my camera. All right. I'm going to wait back for the box to go away. So first, I want to say good morning or afternoon, wherever you are situated, and thank you for joining my session on advancing multimodal learning and integrating UDL, AI, and inclusiveness into higher education. As Bob said, I'm Dr. Melissa Beck-Wells. I'm so excited to explore with you how these concepts can transform educational practices to better engage and support diverse learners. And so go ahead. Let's go ahead and dig right in if my thing wants to advance. Aha. So I want you to think to yourself, um, what do I feel most knowledgeable in these many different aspects of the presentation? Is it UDL? Is it AI? Is it multimodal learning? Is it inclusion? Is it belonging? Go ahead, take about 10 seconds there to think to yourself, where do I feel most comfortable? Thanks for engaging with that. So I'm going to say that probably many of you weren't thinking about multimodal learning because that's a term that sometimes seems a little bit, um, what could that even be? And so we're going to talk a lot about that, but I want you to think about universal design for learning, artificial intelligence, inclusion, and belonging, and how we can use several different ways of accessing knowledge through multimodal learning to bring about that inclusive learning experience. And so we'll dig in. In this session, we're going to explore the connectedness between universal design for learning, AI, and inclusiveness. And our objectives are threefold. So first, to understand the foundational principles of UDL, AI, and inclusiveness in higher education. Second, to discover how these elements can work together to enhance student engagement and success. And finally, we'll discuss some practical strategies in an LMS for creating adaptive content and assessments tailored to diverse learning styles and needs. Let's begin by discussing UDL. So UDL is a framework designed to improve and optimize teaching and learning for all people based on scientific insights into how humans learn. It emphasizes the need to provide multiple means of engagement, representation, and action and expression. These three principles guide the development of flexible learning environments that can accommodate diverse learning needs. For instance, offering content in both text and video formats ensures that students with different learning preferences or needs can be engaged with material effectively. Think to yourself, And if you want to share in the chat, you can go ahead. How do you incorporate multiple means of engagement, representation, and expression in your teaching? Thanks for taking a moment there. I know when I taught in person, so I taught previous to higher education, I was a pre-K through 12th grade special educator in New York City public schools. And my students varied in their abilities and their disabilities. And so in person, we did things such as adding music. We used a lot of movement. We had text plus visuals. We had different cues that would cue students in different ways. We also use physical cues. So using a student's hand, hand over hand to write, etc. When we think about this diverse teaching model now of being either asynchronous or at a distance, it makes us think a little bit more about how we can ensure that we're doing similar things for our students virtually. And so ensuring that you are having those visual cues, perhaps sound cues, video cues, increasing that engagement by having case studies that are of interest or TED Talks or videos or songs, different types of uh, content that is engaging culturally. So sometimes bringing in a little movie clip or a meme. Also thinking about how you can ensure that there is text alongside all of your videos, and thinking about how some students might also require some type of engagement reminders. So you might be sending out those reminders for engagement. Hey, I haven't seen you in the course the past couple days. These are all ways to ensure that a student's holistic self is being brought into the learning environment and you are engaging them on different levels. Inclusion in higher education refers to the practice of creating an environment where all students, regardless of their background, identity, abilities, can feel welcome, respected, supported, and able to fully participate in the educational experience. This concept focuses on breaking down barriers, whether they are related to race, ethnicity, gender, orientation, socioeconomic status, disability, or really any other factor that can prevent students from accessing or thriving in educational settings. So, key aspects to inclusion in higher education are equitable access, which is ensuring that students from diverse backgrounds have equal opportunities to enroll, engage, and succeed in higher education programs, a supportive environment, providing resources, accommodations, and interventions that address the varied needs of all students, especially those from underrepresented groups. Cultural competence, which is promoting an institutional culture that values these inclusive teaching practices, support systems, and policies. UDL, which, as we said before, is that framework that offers multiple means of engagement, representation, and action and expression, and ensuring that all students, regardless of learning style or ability, can access and engage course material and a sense of belonging. So, fostering a campus climate or a classroom climate where students feel they are valued and they're part of this academic community and you want them to succeed, which contributes to their academic and personal development. Inclusion in higher education goes beyond simply admitting diverse students. It involves actively working to ensure that all students have the tools, resources, and institutional support necessary to succeed academically and personally. It aligns with principles of equity, diversity, inclusion, promoting an environment where every student has an opportunity to thrive. So, the hot topic that many of you, I'm sure, have heard so much about is AI in education. So, let's talk about it and its growing role. So, AI has the potential to personalize learning experiences by adapting content to meet individual students' needs. It also can really help faculty and instructors, and I'll show you a little bit about that. It can analyze data from student interactions to identify areas where they might need additional support. So, for example, AI-driven platforms like adaptive learning tools can provide students with tailored exercises based on their progress, ensuring they are challenged but not overwhelmed. So, breaking things up ensuring that students can't move on to another task until they master their first task, etc. AI plays a crucial role in accessibility, offering tools like speech to text, real-time translation, and personalized feedback, which some of you might be using right now. Multimodal learning, here is that term, right? Refers to an educational approach that incorporates multiple methods of teaching and learning, engaging more than one sensory or cognitive pathway. It recognizes that different students learn best through different modalities or modes and aims to combine visual, auditory, reading or writing, kinesthetic, or physical techniques to enhance understanding and retention of the material. So in practice, multimodal learning can involve visual learning, like using images, diagrams, charts, videos, or infographics, auditory learning, relying on spoken explanation, podcasts, discussion, or music, reading and writing, engaging with text-based material such as books, articles, note-taking, or written assignments, and kinesthetic learning. So incorporating those physical activities like hand-on projects, simulations, or experiments. So the goal of multimodal learning is to provide multiple pathways for students to process and engage with the material, catering to that inclusive learning preference and improving overall learning outcomes. By leveraging different modalities, it also aligns with UDL and promotes that inclusion and accessibility. All right, so here are some of the ideas that I just talked about in the last slide, but it's here so you can see it right in front of your faces because I love charts and diagrams and organization, and that's part of me as a learner. And so I wanted to make sure that my auditory explanation in the last slide is engaged with your visual, this visual. So now we are using that multimodal approach here. In my classrooms, I want to make sure that I am walking the walk, not talking the talk. And so I often will do the type of teaching strategy I'm asking students to learn about because I teach a lot of intro to special ed courses and early childhood education courses. And so by doing it, it also cements that piece. And then I often will ask students to break up into small groups and try it out on each other in a very low stakes, everyone's here to learn and try it out type of way. And so now we've done it through auditory, we've done it through visual, and then they've done it through that hands-on piece. So I think that that is meaningful when you think about how you can approach what you're doing with your students, even in an online distance environment. All right. When UDL, AI, and inclusiveness are integrated, the result is that multimodal learning environment, and that caters to that diverse need. So in this environment, students benefit from tailored learning experience that are meaningful to them. So that is through either adaptive content that meets their specific styles or needs, through those inclusive UDL practices, which is ensuring that the whole group is able to access those different types of multimodal learning experiences, where then you don't have to often go back and teach a small group, and there won't be so many students who need that one-on-one learning experience with you in your office hours, etc., because they're able to access the content in that whole group setting. That's helpful for instructors and faculty members because that's a little bit less of that one-on-one work or that small group work. And it's essential for students to see that whole group learning experience, which is catered to them within the whole group. So you want to make sure that those students, the course integrates those elements. And what do I mean with that? So a student with a learning disability might receive the content in an accessible format, right? So in that text to that read to text way. So if you have your captions on now, but that might also help a student who doesn't have a specific learning disability. It might help a student who likes to see text while they hear, or it might help students who are from very geographic areas where they're not used to somebody like me, perhaps, who's talking somewhat quickly. And so now you are supporting various types of learners and their needs by this one piece of content that you've changed. And you want to make sure that that success is named for students so that they know that that's there. The integration enhances engagement and improves that overall student outcomes. And then students know that you are tailoring your classroom and your instruction for their needs. which increases that piece of belonging. So now we've thought a lot about theory. I've given you some little pieces of how to do it. Um, but how do we put all the concepts into practice? So first, it's essential to assess your students' needs and choose AI tools that align with UDL principles. So you might begin by designing adaptive assessments that respond to students' unique learning paths. I'll show you a little bit about that. Next, ensure that the content you create is accessible to all students. You can use AI to automate and support this process. Continuous feedback and integration is key. Regularly assessing the effectiveness of your strategies, being a reflective practitioner is so important, and asking for feedback by students. So you're not just waiting for their course reflection surveys at the end. And then you make those adjustments as needed. Is this working for you? Is this not working for you? A quick little survey within the middle of your course can really help that. And ensure that we are being trained as faculty members. And if you are training faculty members, that you are doing that and you're bringing this back perhaps to your schools or your universities or your departments so that they are able to see these opportunities to help instructors and educators effectively implement all of these approaches. So I want you to think to yourself because I don't live in a perfect world. From New York City, we like to say what might be difficult upfront. What challenges might you face when integrating UDL, AI, and inclusiveness? And then how can you overcome them? If anybody wants to go ahead and share, go ahead. It's not a requirement. I don't want you to feel put on the spot. If you have something that you feel you want to share, if not, I can share with you some feedback I've gotten about this. And first thing is, it seems like a lot of work. Yeah, uh, teaching isn't easy. Putting, taking into somebody's educational experience and journey into your hands should not be taken lightly. But by front loading and developing your coursework and thinking about this prior to the on the spot, on the fly, I can make this better immediately way is a way of ensuring that these UDL principles are within your coursework from before the course begins, right? Preview week. It's already there. Students are able to see how much effort you've put into ensuring that they are able to access this course. The next is having those AI supports in your back pocket. And I have a slide where you can go ahead and jot some down, and it might be meaningful to just shoot somebody a link and say, this might be helpful, or have this already built into your syllabus, these AI supports, so that you can say, this might be really helpful for this. And then when you're thinking about that inclusiveness, it's through that universal design for learning framework. And so there's really a front load here. Of course, you're going to have to get feedback and make adjustments throughout the course. But by doing that work ahead of time, it's really, really going to make your life easier as an instructor or faculty member, educator in general, as time goes on. All right, thinking about integration. The real power of AI in education emerges when we integrate it with those UDL principles. AI can help educators implement UDL by automating the creation of multiple representations of content, enabling different modes of engagement, and supporting. Oops, sorry about that. Oh, I see something in the chat. Bob, is there something shared in the chat? If I try to go to the chat, I'm afraid it might.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
fine.
I just
Uh,
posted it. I posted an answer to your previous slide. It took me a bit to type it,
No, that's fine. Thanks so much.
but you can proceed. It's fine.
Oh, no, go ahead. Let's share it out.
I basically was just thinking. So, I work on online courses, and I feel like because it is a lot, which is you address that. So it feels like it might be easier because you could be more intentional about it in the planning process when designing for online. I think in face to face, you can go in with a you can be intentional about the plan, but then it feels more organic, I guess, in a sense, in the delivery. So that was those were my thoughts with your previous slide.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that I've been utilizing quite a bit in the online realm is the announcement feature and kind of putting my video scripts into AI and saying, can you generate a video and with an avatar and it'll come up and instead of them hearing me tell them, don't forget that in like in this discussion board, you have to make sure that you are citing two pieces of relevant research, and it has to be within the last 5 years. Like a spunky little avatar does it, and students. They've appreciated it and they actually watch them, which sometimes when I used to do announcements that would just be of my text, I would look back and see I would we have you can see the analytics and I would say, oh, who's gone into the announcement to read it? And the engagement wasn't as high. And so I think that's been helpful. Also, including things with music has been really helpful in terms of giving instructions for certain assignments or often giving a varied assignment. So I don't like to just give papers. I'll say, if you want to present me this content on on a PowerPoint, 20 slide PowerPoint APA formatted slide with you presenting it and record it, I'm extremely happy to take that as well. And students have been giving me those varied assignment structures, which I think has been helpful. And my students have been having a higher success rate and completion rate in my courses. Thanks so much for sharing your perspective on the online versus the in-person because it is different. But there's, of course, the place for it all. So thanks so much. So when we think about those AI tools, I just gave a couple of instances, so that kind of played perfect into it. But an AI tool like a chat box can give immediate feedback on students. So if you are able to create a chat box for your course with frequently asked questions, that also often helps to mitigate the questions you're receiving through your course. And it can also suggest resources that cater to different learning preferences. I've also had questions be automatically responded to with videos from our learning library at Empire State University saying, oh, you're asking about this APA citation. Here is actually a link to the article and video about it. Or, oh, you're asking for where are tutoring resources. Here's Empire State University's tutoring resources, right? So it's an immediate engagement, and that's through that using AI-driven tools. And they also are able to create a personalized and those inclusive learning experiences. So, for example, if a student says to me, this seems like a lot of reading for this module, I was wondering, do you have any helpful tools? And I'll say, you know what? Yeah, why don't we throw this into ChatGPT and ask for an organizational structure, and you can get a graphic organizer about it. And so while you're reading, as you're skimming through, if this seems like a lot to you, make sure you're really highlighting these particular places. And it's been super supportive for students. All right, so this is something I selfishly use all the time. And so I use AI to revise my messages to students. I don't know if anybody's tried to message a student when they're having a really bad day. But I have. And so instead of just sending out, and of course, I would never actually send out a message like this, right? But sometimes if you put a message like this into ChatGPT, which says your assignments are late, you're being rude in the discussion board, you're asking for an extension right before the course is supposed to close, I've already done enough, you need to engage further. I put it into ChatGPT and I say something like, please make this more professional and supportive so I can help this student succeed in this course. And they come out and they revise my message for me. As you can see, this is a lot more supportive. Um, it also includes a link to the end of term dates for my course. It includes the academic standards. And I also, after I read this message, I said, okay, this is a lot better, but I want to make sure they know that there is support out there as well through student services. And so I said, make sure you include that. And so they did. Um, this took me all in all 2 minutes. The student wrote back to me. It almost was a different student, I feel like. They were like, thank you so much. for understanding. I've never felt so supported in an educational environment. I feel like you took the time and you understood my situation, etc. Where in reality it was me trying to be that person, but I didn't have it in me that day. But thanks to ChatGPT, I really did that day. So it's worked out for me in utilizing that for students. And of course, I do not put student names within ChatGPT just in case. I'm not sure if it's ever going to go back to them, but I like to just make sure that that is not going to happen. So you think about one of the UDL principles of multiple means of representation using specifically with AI. We talked about AI generated content, so text or audio or video or even interactive media. That content personalization, so using adapting materials to individual learning styles, using for even giving a graphic organizer and saying, fill in this graphic organizer with the essential content, or can you provide um, which which order to read these articles or engage with this content that is most meaningful for somebody uh, who is a new student or who might be learning English as a second language. It will do that for you, which is really wonderful. And then even throwing something into AI and saying, is this accessible to all students has been helpful in my teaching environment as well. So to get really into the what can you take away with you right now, um, AI generated transcripts and captions, you can, how do you do it? Is you upload your video lecture into your LMS. We use Brightspace. I also teach for another institution. We use Canvas. And you use the AI-driven captioning tool to automatically generate those captions for you. You can, look at them again, make sure they look good, but giving that caveat, AI was used to generate the transcripts and captions. If there's any errors, students are understanding of that. Make sure you review it and then you publish it. Something else I've seen really great is using ChatGPT to translate, which has been very useful. You can see here offering the multiple content formats. So Brightspace, what I use, allows you to provide course materials in those various formats. So you might upload a textbook chapter as both a PDF and an audio file. Many of us use books on tape every day. And so this is a way that you can listen and read along at the same time, that multimodal approach. And so that ensures that students who learn better by listening or might have a visual impairment can still access the material in a way that suits their needs. And as I said before, AI powered translations have been really useful. Students who might be learning English or non-native English speakers or who speak English fluently but are more comfortable in an alternative language, this has been extremely helpful to them and has kind of ensured that language barriers don't prevent students from accessing and understanding your course content, which is part of that UDL framework, but also really essential for inclusion. When we think about visual and audio alternatives, students with different sensory preferences, those visual and audio alternatives to text content, such as complementing written instructions with that video explanation or an infographic, putting brightness or changing the background color to support visual needs, or changing the voice, or changing how quickly the voice speaks. These are all pieces that support a multimodal approach to ensure you are accessing what the student or able to teach the way the student needs. Think about action expression. As you can see, we're going through the UDL three pieces here, but um, UDL encourages providing multiple means of action and expression to allow students to demonstrate their learning in various ways with various supports. So in your LMS, for example, AI tools enable us to offer diverse assessment formats. So does a student want to present? Does a student want to write a paper? Does a student want to do a voice thread? Does a student want to do a discussion board? Does a student want to upload graphics that they've created to demonstrate the content that they've learned? Um, and so when you think about these different ways, you are thinking about student choice and allowing students how they want to demonstrate their learning, which makes them more comfortable and increase that sense of belonging. Something I've been recently using so much and I think was so useful within quizzes is allowing more than one attempt on the quiz, which many of us already do, right? But having automated feedback if the answer is incorrect and pointing them toward where the content is so they can review and gather the correct answer. And I've gotten feedback from students that said, I missed this. This was really great because I feel like now I looked at it again and I relearned it. Thanks so much for showing me where to go for this. And so, because many times when we're teaching, we're not looking for a gotcha. We don't want to mark quizzes wrong. We want to make sure that you're learning the content. And so, this is a way that, and it took that bit of pre-work, right? When I was building out the quiz, I had to go in and for every incorrect answer, I had to say where the correct answer was. But those second attempts, I had a huge increase in those scores, which means that the students were learning that content. So you might be saying to yourself, what AI tools are there to support UDL in education? So we've discussed that AI can play that pivotal role in supporting universal design for learning. And so here are the AI tools I've learned that has been really helpful. So one tool is H5P, and that's an interactive content creation tool. It's free, it's open source, and it's a platform that allows educators to create, share, and reuse interactive content like quizzes, interactive videos, drag and drop activities, and more. And it helps tailor content based on student engagement. It supports engagement, representation, and action and expression. The next one I wanted to highlight was Immersive Reader. Immersive Reader is a free tool built into many platforms like Microsoft Word and OneNote, offering features like text to speech, font customization, spacing adjustments, and translations. And this supports learners with reading difficulties or language barriers or visual impairments. And so this is really wonderful as well. Option three here, it's called Grade Scope, and it's parts of it are free. It's limited and it's free, but I think it's still really useful. So GradeScope offers that free tier for educators, and it uses AI to streamline grading, providing instant feedback on assignments like essays, problem sets, or quizzes, and then will recognize patterns in students' responses and offers immediate feedback, which is useful. And the fourth one I wanted to talk about is Quillbot. Quillbot is, and many of you might have used this, but Quillbot is a free AI-powered writing assistant that helps with paraphrasing, grammar checking, and summarizing. And it's widely used by students and educators to improve clarity, tone, and style in writing. And things I've used this for is taking content, putting it in and putting more layman's terms. Can you put this into a different less formal tone? So I can put this into my announcement as this is what this is related to. And it's been really useful in my courses. And again, it does not take a heavy lift on my part, but it does allow for students to be able to engage in the content in a more inclusive way. And so I really feel like it's meaningful to drop those couple of extra minutes. And then if many of you are reusing your courses from your semester to semester or using pieces of your courses, then it's there for you and you've saved a lot of time. All right. So, diversity in learning is about more than just acknowledging differences. It's about that active incorporating of diverse perspectives and ensuring all students see themselves reflected in their course content. And that's through those inclusive means, right? So, this can be achieved by including materials from a variety of different backgrounds, including variety of different academic backgrounds, and encouraging students to bring their own experiences into the learning process. What is your experience or what is your perspective? Then doing some type of deep dive into readings or videos, and then how has your perspective changed or stayed the same or grown are really great experiences, um, reflective experiences that students, for me, have said they had in my classes. In a multimodal learning environment, celebrating these diverse learning needs, and inclusion means using different approaches to reach all students and recognizing the values in their unique contributions and how they contribute. And so that might be, again, through voice threads or text or videos or I had a student who just loved to do infographics to explain their thinking. And that is just a great way for them to demonstrate their content knowledge. I think that is great as well. And so this approach not only enhances learning, but also helps students feel more connected and engaged with the material, but also in your class. So integrating UDL, AI, and inclusiveness isn't without its challenges. Common obstacles include resistance to change, limited resources, and the complexity of implementing new technologies. However, these challenges can be overcome with careful planning and a commitment to continuous improvement. It's important to start small. So pilot a new tool in your course or one strategy in one course before you're scaling up. Become comfortable with it. Collaboration is key. Working with colleagues, instructional designers, and IT support can make the process smoother. And institutional support is also crucial. You're at this professional development and you're here at this conference because you want to learn more. So you're already there. You're already overcoming some of the challenges. And so I really am just so thankful that you are putting your students first and you're ready to continuously improve your coursework through different uh, pieces of learning. And so thank you so much for that. And go ahead and ask your institution for things because sometimes institutions do want to be innovative and they do want to know what is the newest thing happening. And so, but when they don't know, they don't know. And so if you're saying, I want to try this in my course, you might be that pilot that then they say, hey, can you go teach this person how to do it? Or can you then do this in all your courses? And let's see those retention numbers. Let's see course completion rates. Um, and what resources or trainings might you need? And then you can go ahead and go to more professional development or become a leader at your institution. So a couple just to summarize, so and wrapping it up. So the key takeaways from today's session are first, integrating UDL, AI, and inclusiveness creates a powerful connectedness that can enhance student engagement and success. Second, practical strategies for implementation include assessing student needs, selecting appropriate AI tools, and designing adaptive content and assessments. Finally, it's important to celebrate the diversity of learning in your course and in your classroom, and that you yourself are. We're all different types of learners here as well. And then address challenges proactively. By following these steps, we can create a more inclusive an effective learning environment for all students, for ourselves, for our colleagues, and for our institutions. And I'm going to go ahead and say, what questions do you have for me? And I'm going to stop sharing. And this PowerPoint will be there, but please do email me. I love to chat and collaborate, and I am very, very happy to talk more post. But um, does anybody have any questions for me?
Have you felt any pressure given the current political environment?
So I have not because inclusive teaching practices really stem from the civil rights movement and thinking about diverse learning needs. So we know that there's a free and appropriate public education required for pre-K through 12th grade students. That should then translate into higher education. And so when we're really thinking about utilizing inclusive practices for those with those diverse types of learning needs,
Uh,
it
Yeah,
comes
I
straight through
mean,
federal
don't get me
law.
wrong.
So that's how
I
I back it up.
It's a great thing, but crazy. In some states, it's probably a different story than, say, New York.
Yes. And when sometimes it needs to be reframed as instead of pinning it down to diversity of a certain demographic or a certain whatever, this is how different learning styles or this is how different types of students need to learn. And then kind of bringing it back into multiple intelligences is another way that can work. But again, I'm from New York City and I'm not afraid to just be as loud as humanly possible.
Need more people like that.
Thanks, Shannon. Does anybody have any other questions? And I know, so something that I've been doing some research on as well is anxiety in higher education. And so I found that students also in these virtual environments, when you're putting these practices into your virtual learning environments, even if it is like, I actually consider this kind of face to face because our cameras are on, but these face to face interactions or whatnot, um, letting students use AI to create an avatar or a picture of themselves. My students with high anxiety have said, "Thank you so much for not making me put my camera on. I'm able to really concentrate on the content and learning rather than worrying about staring at myself this whole time." Just such a quick little fix, right? And that doesn't harm my teaching experience. And I think that just those little pieces of making those accommodations has really been supportive for my students. Thanks so much, Shannon. I know there's so much good happening in terms of UDL and AI and multimodal learning, but to see it kind of brought together in like a thread, I think has been helpful. When I was creating the presentation, I was like, aha, I knew this all connected in some way. Any other questions, concerns, anything I can help you with? I'm here. I answer my emails all hours of the day. I have four children. I don't sleep. So, and four children in 5 years, and my oldest is only 8. So I'm always awake. I'm always here. I drink a lot of coffee. If you, and I fixed saying coffee. I did that for everybody here so that you would understand what I'm saying. Um, please do reach out. I'm happy to collaborate and
We could talk with you for hours, I think.
help.
But this is a, I tell you, this is exactly the kind of information that I look for that attendees can take with them. My dog agrees with that. If you're,
Hi, pup. Thanks so much. And for everybody who attended, thank you so much. Oh, thanks so much, Nicole. Absolutely. Take it all. Take it all, bring it back, show everybody. No problem, Amy. Thanks so much.
okay, we
All right.
will wrap it up then. And I really appreciate you taking time to do this for us. It's really been valuable.
Thank you so much. And good luck to everybody.